Hey, back for the beginning of week 4. I left Butte this morning at 6:30, and I picked up a high school student from Butte High named Jordan to come over and be a page this week. It's so nice to have some company here in the house with me, and it was nice to have some company in the car. She had to be there at 8, and I didn't have to start my business and labor until 10, so I spent 2 hours answering emails, reading all of the information supplied to us by all these government agencies and different organizations to help us make informed decisions, answering phone calls, returning phone calls, making phone calls, and updating my calendar. I presented House Bill 92, which was my public defender's office bill, to Senate Judiciary this morning. So that was at 10 o'clock, and I think I was the first freshman to do this. I'm learning about this process. Once a bill is assigned a number, it's not actually read on the floor for first reading. It's just basically, they call it first reading and they assign it to a committee. And they do that all in one lump, like bills 1 through 150 are assigned to committee on first reading. And then it goes to its committee, and the bill sponsor, which would be me in this case, brings the bill to the committee. You hear opponents and proponents and informational witnesses, and then a couple days later, after they've had a chance to study up on it and think about it, the committee does executive action. If they vote for it, just a majority, ties do not pass. But if a majority of people vote for it, then it goes on to second reading on the House floor. Second reading on the House floor, any of the members of the House of Representatives can ask the bill sponsor questions, can make comments, can amend it. Then they vote on it. If it passes second reading, usually the very next day it will be up for third reading. There's no discussion. It just gives everyone one last chance to vote for or against it. After it has passed third reading in the House, then it goes to the same exact process on the Senate side. So this morning, my bill that passed through the House was heard in the Senate Judiciary Committee because it was heard in the House Judiciary Committee to begin with. They actually took executive action right away, and it passed unanimously. So I think I'm the first freshman to get a bill passed through a Senate committee. And now a senator needs to decide to sponsor it on the Senate floor. And Robin Driscoll from Billings has agreed to do that. And the Office of Public Defender actually took care of that step for me. They've worked with these people for a lot longer and know them, and had Robin agree to carry the bill on the Senate floor. So it's passed through Senate committee. It will go through second and third readings in the Senate, and then if it makes it through those steps, it'll go to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Bills that start in the Senate go through the process for the Senate and then come over to the House and go through the process in the House. And right now in our House committees, we're starting to see the first Senate bills come through. Someone asked me a question as to if it was better to have it start in the House or the Senate, and I'm not sure politically which one is better. And I know that there are some rules, some bills have to start in one or the other, but I haven't figured out what the rules are yet. Don't judge me. I got back to business and labor, and we were hearing House Bill 232, which you might want to look at. I don't want to make this video really long, but it was really interesting. You can really tell when a bill is going to come down to a party line vote in committee, because the committee members aren't asking questions to educate themselves on how they should vote. They ask questions to try to prove to everybody else on the committee that the decision they've already made in their mind is the correct decision and everybody should vote with them. Basically asking questions to prove your own point of view. We also heard House Bill 207, but that was tabled by the committee at the presenter's request. And I'm not sure why that happens. That had happened one other time also. We took executive action on House Bills 197, 250, and 226. House Bill 197 was a bill that changed the definition of employee so that any employer could drug test any employee randomly. And it was great that we were able to cross party lines, and Republicans and Democrats agreed that we don't need any more Big Brother interfering with our lives and undoing the 10 to 12 years of labor relations that have happened between basically the workers and the employers to agree on a great drug testing system. 226 was another one that got under my skin. It ended past committee. It makes computer professionals it makes IT people computer professionals. Under the definition of the word professional, you're exempt from overtime pay. So this takes the money out of middle class people's pockets, literally takes food out of their mouths, if you ask me. And it passed through committee, and I strongly disagree with it. In the House session, we had a joint session with the Senate. Congressman Daines spoke to us, and it's always good to see all of the senators. There's always a point in our agenda where they ask if there are any messages from the governor, and today we heard the first message from the governor saying that one of our bills had been signed into law. It said, "Dear House members, House Bill 1 has come across my desk, and I've signed it into law." And so we can see that the wheels are starting to turn here. The bills are making it all the way through the process and getting to the governor's desk. Today's gray sheet, I don't know if I've shown you guys one of these yet. The gray sheet shows which bills are being heard for second reading, who's carrying them, and what the votes were out of committee. And it was great today. We were hearing seven bills on second reading, and 5 of them came out of my committees. So I was well informed on the bills and knew how to vote on them and why. We heard House Bills 91, 100, 122, 123, 127, 162, and 199 today on second reading. And House Bill 123, I just want to show as an example, in case I'm seeming kind of partisan, is an example of a really good Republican bill. So it was carried by a guy that I don't always agree with, Regier, and it you can see replaces the term mental retardation with the term intellectual disability in all Montana code. So that was, a civil rights win for us today, and it was carried by a Republican. House Bill 127 is a great example of there being some people who just want to put up roadblocks to us doing good government. So we have House Bill 127 that came through Business and Labor. There were 3 no votes. And when you look on the fiscal note, you can see the fiscal note has the box checked that says technical concerns. The reason there are technical concerns, it clearly says from legislative staff that passage of this legislation is required to conform with U.S. code. Failure to enact this legislation will create conformity issues. State laws must meet certain federal requirements. Basically, if this doesn't pass, it will cost us $7.986 million or $378 per employee into the Department of Labor for unemployment. So they're basically holding up the things that government needs to do to fund things like unemployment. And I personally think that it's because it has the word conform with United States code in it. So if you want to see who is trying to hold up government in Montana, you can go to bit.ly/2013 laws, and you can look up House Bill 127, and you can click to see who voted yes and who voted no. There were 29 people today who voted no for this, and that is nothing but just trying to hold up government from doing the work of the people. There is no good reason for it. That's my rant for the day. We heard House Bill 199, which was a bill to up the limit on pull tabs. I know that's a really popular thing in Butte, and I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when a lot of different people sign on to a bill. You can see Pat Noonan, Jim Keene, John Sesso, Gene Vukovich, Edie McClafferty, Amanda Curtis, Kathy Swanson. I think that might be Ryan Lynch, and maybe Gordy Pearson. So all of Southwest Montana signed on, and those signatures at the top just mean that we're co-sponsored on it. And then I also wanted to show you that some of the bills come on blue paper. If it was amended on second reading on the House, then we get it the next day for third reading on blue paper, just as a heads up that this was amended on second reading. In Human Services today, we heard 2 bills, 241 and 262. This is requiring the Department of Health and Human Services to provide just an explanation of benefits, literally a typed piece of paper saying these services were paid for by Medicaid to your provider, and the purpose of this is so that Medicaid recipients can check and make sure that their provider is really being paid for what was actually done to them. And so it's meant to eliminate fraud and waste in the Medicaid system. And this is a great example of a bill where people who normally would never spend a single red cent to expand government are willing to spend like $50,000 in order to avoid fraud and waste that does not exist. And they're saying that the savings we would see from preventing this fraud and this waste in the Medicaid system is worth the money that we would invest. And this fraud and waste in the Medicaid system is about as prevalent as voter fraud. Oh, another interesting thing about this Bill 241 is that it provides an explanation of benefits to Medicaid recipients unless the Medicaid recipient is developmentally disabled, in a long-term care facility, is receiving chemical dependency treatment, is emotionally disturbed, or has a mental illness. And I thought that was a rather large group of people to exclude from a service that the state is providing. And when I asked the bill sponsor, why would you exclude these people, he said because he wanted to keep the cost down. Overall, it was a great day. I'm thankful to everyone for the encouragement, and thank you so much for watching these and paying attention, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 18.